right, welcome into the Rundown with Caleb and Casey here on a Wednesday evening back inside the Student Innovation Center at Iowa State University. This is where our home is now, Casey. It's good to be back.
It is. We're back. We're better than ever. It's been a little bit since we've pod. We're back into the groove, but we're going to hit the ground stronger than ever. 2025 is our year.
I would agree. 2025 is a huge year in store for the Rundown. You know, the last time we were in here, I think it was December 18th. It was right before first semester ended. And then we only had one pod over winter break. It was right before the Iowa State-Kansas game and didn't do one last week. So we're, you know, it's been a minute since we've been consistently doing these. But, yeah, I would agree. 2025 is a huge year here. Third year that we have been a podcast, technically. Now we've only been doing it for about year and a half or so at this point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've stretched over the course of 3 different years, so that's pretty sweet.
We hit the timelines just perfectly, you know. We're hitting all of our bonuses. We're hitting all the extensions we need to.
If you're a local business or even a nationwide corporation, advertisers right now are loving the Rundown with Caleb and Casey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when you listen to our 40-minute to an hour podcast, you hear all those ad reads, and get in right now while it's hot, okay?
Yeah, and while it's
before
cheap,
the door closes, exactly.
Before it's more expensive than a Super Bowl commercial.
True. Well, let's dive right in, Casey. Unless you have anything else to mention before we get going here, I think the place that we should really start today. We'll talk Iowa State basketball. We'll talk Big 12. We'll have a few other things to do here and there. The 3 for 3 as always. I don't think we really need to recap anything crazy from last week. I just kind of want to hop right in on Iowa State's loss against Arizona on Monday night a couple nights ago. Obviously, there have been a lot of Iowa State basketball games since then. Iowa State over Kansas and Hilton Coliseum, notably being one of them. That's why the lights are red today.
Allegedly.
Allegedly it happened. Defeated Arizona State, defeated UCF. So, and then obviously had that West Virginia loss too. So there have been a number of games. That's 5 games that have happened since we last recorded. But really, I don't think too much of the season outlook has changed by any means since we last podcasted. Now, with the loss against Arizona, it makes it harder for Iowa State now to win the Big 12. So I suppose that's kind of the one thing that has changed maybe a little bit. But you look at bracketology, Iowa State's still a 1 seed by most accounts. But really, Casey, this basketball game against Arizona Monday night was one of the all-time gut punches. And in my opinion, I think it would have been, the best win of the season for Iowa State up to this point. I think the best win potentially on the schedule is that win at Houston. But I think at this point, the wins against Kansas and Marquette, great wins, but home games, right? And I just think that this win at Arizona, a team that is going to be in the top 25 soon, will probably finish the season top 15, top 20. In a hostile environment like that, you're getting everybody's best shot. I think that would have been their best win up to this point. And Caleb Love had other things to say.
Yeah, he, for the first, 39 minutes, I would say, he was rather uneventful,
Yeah.
I mean, what was he? He was 2 for 11 from 3.
We got
4 for 16 from the field.
It was atrocious, and we got crushed in a group chat that we're in because
I stand by my point.
Listen, I do too. For context, everybody who's listening, before the game, Casey had sent the iconic picture of the LinkedIn jersey, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
one of the best pictures of all time, and the caption for you was Caleb Love, and that held true for
59 minutes
about
and 59 seconds.
Literally, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, minus the overtime segment because he actually came alive in overtime.
39 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, geez, wrong sport.
Yeah.
We both got that one wrong. Anyway, it held true for a while, and then late in the game, I think it was he had this blunder where he was dribbling the ball down the court in transition, had a 2-on-1 advantage, and just dribbled out of bounds. He literally ran out of bounds. And I hopped in the group chat, and I replied to your picture you sent, and I said, I'll bump this right now. So you and I, we're both just bashing Caleb Love. And then my comment was very poorly timed because I think it was about a minute later that he hit the 3/4 of the court shot.
Yeah.
And just won't talk anymore.
Yeah. I don't think we can take the blame, though. I mean,
No.
you heard me harping on this a lot. And, we love our guy, John Rothstein. And he lives and dies by many quotes. But one of the biggest one is always foul up 3 late.
3 rules to live by. Never acknowledge the Godfather.
Part 3.
Never waste calories on pizza outside of the Eastern time zone. Always foul up 3 late in the game.
And you see why. And there was just a lot of issues with what happened from, our defense was kind of relaxed, laid off. It was like we wanted to let him shoot. And I get that the chances of him making it are rather low and whatever, but just why deal with the chances, Even if you don't want to foul up 3, at least guard him, because there's the the video of him shooting over Taman, and it might as well be uncontested because Taman was so far away.
Yeah.
Cujo and Keyshawn were guarding. I'm blanking on the other guy's name, their European guard.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It starts
either.
with L.
Yeah.
I'm blanking right now, and they're probably a good 2 arms lengths off it, and it's like, he's going to make that shot occasionally, but you have to at least, if you contest it and whatever, and, Taman did do a good job of reacting, but everyone's kind of looking at each other like, are you going to guard him? Am I going to guard? Who's guarding who?
Yeah.
And by that time, the ball was in the back of the net.
My biggest takeaway was at least call a timeout, right? Because you had at least 1, maybe 2. I don't really recall
one
how
timeout
many.
left.
At least 1, yeah. So you call it after that made free throw, right? And at least have something set up. Whether or not you foul him is a different conversation. I think you got to call the timeout there.
Yeah.
Because, to your point, clearly Iowa State's defenders didn't exactly know what to do in that situation, right?
Yeah.
It was just kind of, who guards who? Do we foul him? Do we not? You got to bring everybody in that moment. Put some, pressure on the ball when it's inbounded. Put some pressure on the inbounds pass. And it just didn't happen.
No.
And that's a shot where, what are the odds of making that shot, right? But
you made it much more favorable by not. You didn't help yourself at all.
No.
And I get that. And some people are saying, you shouldn't call the timeout because then they can drop a play or whatever. But it's like, at least your defense is on the same page. Or, at least you can tell them what you expect from them. And obviously it's something you should talk about and have, going. But it's different from team to team, player to player. There's certain guys that they tell you don't want to foul in late game situations. Certain guys you do want to. Obviously, Caleb Love is not a guy that you want to foul and send to the line very often. But it's like, do you also want to give up an open 3 from him?
And you knew right when that ball went in that it was a game.
It was over.
Right? Going to overtime. And I think Iowa State actually got the first bucket of overtime. But the momentum
and then
was
basically
all on
didn't
the side
score
of Arizona. And Caleb Love got hot right after that. Hit 2 or 3 threes in overtime. All it took was that big bucket to force OT for him to really come out of his shell. And, as a road team, when something like that happens, you're hard-pressed to be able to win a basketball game. And as good as Iowa State is, it was very likely to be over at that point, which is a total bummer. I think, here's the thing, though. I don't think Iowa State lost the game on that three-quarter shot. 17 turnovers. That's the biggest thing that stands out to me.
18.
Was it 18?
Ended with 8. We had 17 in regulation and then 1 in OT.
Dang. Gotcha. And the problem with the 18 turnovers is I felt like so many of them were ill-timed.
Yeah. And
really caught Iowa State in a bad spot. There were a couple that occurred right around the half-court area, and that's just easy transition layups. I think Arizona had a couple back-to-back. A lot of live ball turnovers. A lot where Curtis Jones is trying to get into the paint. He's been a beast with that floater game lately, but Arizona with those physical guards really locked him down on Monday night, and he had a hard time getting anything working around the rim like he usually does, right, in that mid-range. And that resulted in a lot of turnovers, too. So those live ball turnovers gave Arizona a lot of easy buckets. And then, I don't know if you noticed it, too. I didn't look at the stats in particular, but it felt like Arizona also had a lot of second-chance points.
Yeah. Quick
offensive rebounds. Iowa State actually had more offensive rebounds than Arizona, I believe. But Arizona had those easy bunnies right around the rim. And then the other stat, 12 of 18 from the free throw line, right? You miss a couple big ones there. Yeah. Obviously, the Joshua Jefferson one. There's more, though, than just that one. Those are kind of 3 stats to me where it's like you lost the game there.
Yeah, especially when Arizona goes 18 for 22 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
I mean, when they take more attempts and miss even they miss almost half as many as you guys do. Like, you're not going to win very many games like that. Arizona, I thought, shot the ball very well. I thought their offense looked really good. Tommy Lloyd got his passport out and took us to school, you know. I was high on this Arizona team early, and I had kind of said in our group chat, like, I think, and I know I had talked to you, I think this is a harder game than the Kansas game is, just because we're going on the road, you know. I think this is one of the most difficult teams to play in the Big 12, and I stand by it, and they kind of showed why.
Yeah, I mean, they're ranked second in the conference right now, right behind Houston at only one loss, so they have the advantage over Iowa State. They just had a tough non-con, right?
Yeah.
A lot of non-con losses, some bad non-con losses, but they're playing really good basketball right now, and that showed on Monday night. That's a team that's, you know, they're going to finish, in my mind, in the top 3 of the league. Whether that be, you know, number 2, number 3, I doubt they finish number 1, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, that's just a game where it's a gut punch. It's a kick right in the shin, and one that you're going to be thinking about for a long time. And I really hope that isn't the difference between a 1 and a 2 seed for Iowa State. I don't think it will be. But when it's all said and done, there's a chance that it could be. We'll see. You got to give it to Arizona. Like you said, that's a tough place to play, too. I mean, that crowd was up for that game. They had a whiteout going. The thing about Iowa State right now, and you've never been in this position before. You know this as a Kansas fan. But Iowa State has seldom been in this position, you know, maybe going back to 2000, 2001 with Marcus Fizer and those teams, a little bit of George Niang and Monte Morris. But for the most part, you've never been in a spot where you are every team's Super Bowl, right? You're getting everybody's best shot. You're getting every venue's best shot, their best crowds. Coaches are circling this game on the calendar weeks in advance, right? Iowa State's never been in this spot before. And before we say anything else on that, it's a cool spot to be in, right?
Yeah, it's an honor to be there.
It's you know, when West Virginia storms the court against you, it's a big deal, right? Like, losing that game sucked, but, you know, you kind of feel like, oh, you know, people respect us when that happens. But the flip side of that is, like, you know, games automatically are just going to be tougher night in and night out because teams just spend so much more time preparing for you, thinking about you. Away venues, right, they're always going to fill up the stands more so than normal. So I think that was a big part of it for this game too, is, you know, you get a really good team that has circled your name on the calendar, and that translated into a great basketball game played by Arizona.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, Iowa State is kind of in that honor spot right now where you do get these things from teams. You know, people are storming court on you and stuff like that. But, you know, most importantly, like you said, this isn't the end of it. You know, you've still got K-State who, you know, good or not, however they are, it's still going to be a big game. And then you've got to go to Kansas, right? Mm-hmm. If you can go win at Kansas, a team that has not played as good as they should at home, and then you still got, you know, UCF, they're hanging around and competing with teams. They didn't show it in Ames, but, you know, they're competing. They just, in Allen Fieldhouse, took Kansas to a 4-point game. You know, you still got to go to Houston. Arizona's got to come here. Like, there's still a lot on the cards. Yeah. And that Arizona game is going to be huge because that's when Red Panda comes to town as well. So, you know that.
Of course.
I have that memorized. You know.
Casey cannot wait for Red Panda.
You know we want our get back so bad, and Red Panda's going to be there as well. So, Iowa State's going to bring it. But I think
automatically the game of the weekend on Saturday, March 1st when Red Panda's in town.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
+5 game watchability, desirability.
Yeah, like, we'll be waiting out for, like, months in advance for that. But, yeah, like, we've got so much more ahead of us. I will say that. And this could be a good thing. You know, you get that loss out of the way early, so now you can bounce back. You can kind of get things going, turned around. I say that a lot. You know, I hear people always say, like, oh, good teams don't need to lose and stuff like that. But, you know, you learn more lessons in losing than you do in winning. So sometimes you need that to push you into bigger and better things. Especially
when you factor in the fact that there's going to be adversity in March, right? You're going to get, again, every team's best shot in March as well, and you're going to play a lot of really good teams too. So, yeah, I agree with you, right? There's a lot of good things to come out of this year, and you know, one thing I was honestly encouraged about was seeing Keyshawn Gilbert and Taman Lipsey have big offensive nights in what was a down night for Curtis Jones, right?
Yeah.
The first one in a while.
Ooh.
But, to get Keyshawn to really, especially in the second half, he was a monster and was Iowa State's best offense. And then Taman as well, he played pretty good too. So to see those guys in the absence of a night for Curtis Jones to really be able to still make for a decent offensive night for Iowa State, that encouraged me, especially because it's been all Curtis Jones for the most part over the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, without a doubt. You might have to switch seats. I don't know what it's doing, but when you're talking, it really wants to go to that third camera. It really wants to show the empty chair. We have a ghost joining us, apparently.
I guess, man. Somebody wants to talk some ball.
I've been playing a lot of Phasmophobia recently, so it's probably not helping.
Let's see, if I tap my mic here, is it going to pick up? What is it? How does that even make sense?
I don't think the person who did our mics did a good job.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, guys. Casey is a
Caleb's
face,
a ghost,
so you just get to see him all day, which is perfectly fine.
It cuts to you occasionally.
Does
it just doesn't want to stay on you.
Yeah, I don't know. Camera's got something against me.
See, there you go. There you go. Oh.
Hey, everyone.
He cut to the third mic again. Right as you
all
go
right,
to
whatever. If you're watching on YouTube, well, hey, listen. This is a good time now then to advertise that YouTube channel. Go subscribe. To be honest with you, I don't even know. Look at it. It's focusing right on the empty chair there. What is going on?
Who has joined us? I realized I was writing down my 3 for 3, switching over from my social medias to my notes. Well, and all of a sudden it was picking up between me who wasn't talking and that, and I was like, what's going on?
We haven't exactly hit the ground running yet in 2025 on the road.
It will be our year.
Content-wise, but maybe not from a technical standpoint, which is not what we're here for anyway.
No. Well, that's not
our job.
We always had people that did technical stuff for us. That was above our pay grade.
Yeah, shout out to, who was your guys' producer for
Alex Hogg.
Yes, shout out Alex Hogg if you're listening right now.
I doubt he is.
Advertise our YouTube channel, The Rundown with Caleb and Casey. Go give it a subscription. I think we only have a few people so far, so not a lot of people watching on YouTube yet, but you can if you want. We understand if you don't want to, because we can understand if you don't want to look at our faces for 40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah,
but
if
you
do,
you can certainly watch it with both video and audio. So go do that if you haven't yet. But yeah, ultimately, I don't think this sets Iowa State back too much at all this season, aside from, like I said earlier, making it more difficult now to win the conference than it was beforehand. We'll get to Big 12 as a whole in a second here. Houston, man. I mean, I was cheering so hard for Kansas the other night to win. That would have been huge for Iowa State. Houston also dodged a bullet at UCF a couple weekends ago, where they should have lost that game as well. Instead, they win 2, what are the odds type games down the stretch. We'll get to them here in a second. But the last thing I had on Iowa State, Casey, is, in my mind, this is, you cannot draw up a better bounce-back opportunity this weekend, right, for Iowa State. Come back home after a tough, heartbreaking loss. TJ Otzelberger teams historically have responded really well to losses, especially this year. And then you factor in, not only is it a home game, but you're bringing back Jerome Tang and the Purple Kitties out of the Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas, and all that drama that occurred in Hilton Coliseum last January to what I think is going to be one of the most angry, raucous, just hostile Hilton Coliseum crowds of all time on Saturday. It's a whiteout. Everybody remembers what happened last year, right? Jerome Tang, falsely, it came out that it was entirely a farce. There was none of the spying, Connor Stallion stuff going on. Jerome Tang falsely accuses Iowa State fans and managers of spying on their huddles in last season's game at Hilton Coliseum and, using those, sending them to Iowa State, whatever. And that was a big deal. And then Jerome Tang, he's not a likable guy for most anyway, with just kind of his antics and stuff like that. Last year, he also called out Taman Lipsey for being the biggest flopper in the Big 12.
Clearly hasn't watched Stephen Ashworth play basketball. It gets worse. Don't worry.
Well, Stephen Ashworth ain't in the Big 12. But,
no.
Yes, nationally, maybe Stephen Ashworth.
I believe he's formerly Big 12 player.
True.
Stephen Ashworth.
Yes.
I guess team of Big 12, not necessarily Big 12.
You just factor in, those couple things along with more as well, right? His attitude towards the officials at times. And this is going to be a very, very fun Saturday. And, again, because of all that, the perfect bounce-back opportunity, right? Because Iowa State players alike and the coaching staff, they're going to want to get Kansas State and really just put the hammer down on Saturday after, all of that last year where, that was a national story where Kansas State, went to the press and everything and tried to accuse Iowa State of something. But, really Jerome Tang is just a sore loser, man. He's done other stuff like this before, too. That was the most notable one. But I think because of all that, even though Kansas State is seemingly playing better right now, you mentioned almost beat Kansas at AFH, had a nice win against West Virginia this week. Granted, it was at home, but they are playing better basketball. I still think Iowa State wins this big time, though.
How unfortunate that they're playing good, man. Hate to see your rivals succeed. Yeah. You just hate to see it. But, yeah, I think, this is the bounce back win you want. You talked about it. You hit the points, man. This crowd is going to be livid. It is going to be the minute you thought it was bad when Bill Self walked on the court and got booed, just wait until Tang steps on the court. At least it's like Bill Self, you boo him, but you respect him.
Right.
Tang, we boo you. We do not respect you.
Respect for that guy at this point in time.
Yeah, it's going to be, man, like that video of A10 basketball of the St. Louis versus VCU with the fans fighting in the section.
Instead, it's going to be Jerome Tang and Cyclone Jim Carey, Jonathan Swanson.
I hope someone gets him like first row seats right behind the bench. That would be hilarious.
Somebody, because he obviously sits like a couple rows up right in the middle.
But he's on the other side too.
Yeah, he's like kind of closer to the Iowa State bench. If somebody right behind, the Kansas State bench, granted those are usually parents and or Kansas State fans, but if somebody right there, an Iowa State fan, is willing to give him your seat, by all means. That would be just appointment television. I think. Yeah. I was thinking about this today. I might be watching more of just that whole fiasco than the actual basketball game because I feel like the actual basketball game could be just a 30-point blowout here, factoring in Iowa State mad after a loss and just wanting to lay the hammer down on Kansas State after all the accusations last year. So with that being said, I think watching just, the fans behind Jerome Tang and those exchanges, if they happen at all, would be more entertaining.
Without a doubt, dude. I wish I could be at that game. It'll be interesting to watch it. I'll watch the playbacks and watch it live.
Sure.
But that's one of those atmospheres that, I think as a college student you live for.
Yes,
because
the angry ones.
The angry, the energy, everyone's you're all together rallied behind a cause, and it's hating the color purple.
Tyrese Hunter coming back to Ames for the first time back in 2023 after he transferred. That was kind of a similar deal, right, where this guy just totally backstabbed you, went for more money. That was an angry venue. That was an angry Hilton Coliseum. This is, more or less the same thing, right? But instead this time it's more of a coach/team as a whole.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's going to be, it's going to be livid. It's going to be, and, I think TJ will play well into that. And, he's going to get his guys fired up. And, I would, expect nothing less from guys like Keyshawn and guys like Curtis, that when they make a big shot, they'll be pumping up the crowd. They'll bring the energy themselves to celebrations. I wouldn't be surprised to see guys like Jackson and Chatfield hit a big dunk or a block and immediately get the crowd going, I think, this is your best chance probably all year to play into the crowd. And, I think they've got a great team to do it. The fans love this team. There's no one that, you point to. We're Kansas fans. I'm seeing on Twitter they have a meltdown when certain players play, X amount of minutes. Iowa State doesn't have that. They're all rallied behind their guys. Yeah. And they love this team. And, I think everyone knows. I think TJ knows. I think the fans know this is our best shot for a while.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think Iowa State is up to now 30 wins in a row, or maybe I think it's 29 wins in a row at home. So on the flip side, this would be the all-time worst way to lose that winning streak in Hilton Coliseum. Let's not do that on Saturday, everybody.
Nope.
Nope, not even going to speak it into existence. Big 12 basketball here. Let's move into that.
Knock on wood.
Yes. Just start with Houston here. Casey, I know this is a sore subject, but since we last recorded, not one but two really against all odds finishes. The first one against UCF, right? That I was watching that one, and man, again, at this point, it's I'm cheering against Houston. We both are every single night for Iowa State purposes, right? Because if you want to win the conference, all of a sudden it's tougher now. And they are playing West Virginia at the moment, I believe.
22-10 Houston.
Oh,
Yeah,
Great.
I just
That's
checked.
not good news.
No.
Wow. Okay, well, not going to be tonight then.
No, this
evidently.
Houston team's good.
They're really good. They are, I had it here in my notes, one of the most consistent college basketball teams I've ever watched. Kelvin Sampson recruits in a way where he's just got these super level-headed guys that just play consistent basketball.
It's beautiful.
And it is. Like, you hate playing against them, but, when you're not playing against them, you just got to admire it. It's not a very, like, it's a unique style of basketball, especially in today's day and age, because, they're so gritty defensively, but at the same time, they've got a lot of electric playmakers, too. I mean, L.J. Cryer, Emmanuel Sharp, Juwan Roberts, one of the most versatile big men in the country. It's really a well-oiled machine, that Houston team is, and the way they're winning right now it's so remarkable. And I saw, somebody posted the tweet where it was like the most improbable victory, because Houston had like a 0.4% chance
so Houston
to beat Kansas.
had a 0.4% chance to beat Kansas when they were down 6 with like 16 seconds left, which was still lower than Arizona's chance to beat Iowa State before the last shot,
1.4?
which was 1.4%, according to ESPN. So, unbelievable. That's the sport, man. If you're not with us at midnight on February on a Monday, don't bother showing up in March when it's time to make brackets. You don't have the knowledge. It's not luck-based at all. But, yeah, I mean, that's what we live for. That's college sports. That's the Big 12, man. But like you're saying, Houston's just been fantastic. The best teams find ways to win, You see it with the Chiefs, although I think that's more, biased in referees than anything. But you saw it with the Patriots, before that. You see it with the best NBA teams, the Warriors dynasty. You find ways to win games. And you're seeing that with this year's Houston team. You see it a lot of times under Sampson. He's a great coach. He knows exactly what he's going to do. He's going to put up great defense, and then he's going to go off guys that are going to turn around and score. They beat Utah just a couple days or just a week ago, 70-36.
Yeah. It's
stunning.
It's a mixture of stifling defense and, they're not the best offensive team in the country, but, man, they can score the basketball, too, at such a high rate, and that's rare in today's day and age. It's so rare. You're usually one or the other, and this team's got both.
Guess what their offensive and defensive ratings are? Updated KenPom came out.
Should I guess here?
Yeah, go for it.
Honestly, man, so KenPom offense is above. Honestly, I don't look at the website enough to really remember where numbers fall. They're above 100, right? Offensively.
Yeah,
above 100. Well above 100.
The highest team is Auburn with 129 offensively.
I'll go Houston 115.
Close. What do you think their rank is offensively?
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, that's what
We'll go 4.
Close. Offensively, they're 10th.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think their
defensively? They got to be number 1, right?
They are number 1. They hopped Duke. Duke was number 1 for a while. I think it's just the post play of Duke. Duke's fallen off. They're 3 now. Tennessee's at 2. That won't stay. But I mean, it's crazy. We talk. Yeah, they're not the greatest at offense. And you look number 10 for offense. Their adjusted offense is in the top 20. This team is just, this team is insane.
Yeah, and that right there is the marking of a national championship caliber team, right?
Oh yeah.
And you see this on Twitter all the time. Bracketologists and everything, and just college basketball media members in general, personalities always talking about what that kind of top tier metrics wise of teams are. And for those wondering, Iowa State, they've dropped a little bit over the last couple weeks or so. They're still 5th in KenPom, 6th defensively, 13th offensively. So that's still a good spot to be in if you want to make a Final Four run. When you're within kind of that top 10 offensively and defensively around that area, that's always a good marking and a good measure of success.
Yeah, I'd say if you're top 20 in both, it's good. And if you can be top 10 in both, I mean, that's great. That's a team right there that is destined to make runs. That's a team that analysts are going to pick to win it all.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Iowa State was last year.
Yeah.
You had guys picking us to go all the way. And I think Houston's going to get picks. Iowa State's going to get picks. They're one of few teams that have their Duke is going to get picks to win it all.
Right.
Those are like the teams of that caliber. And it's crazy to think, throwing Iowa State in that conversation because you think 3-4 years ago, like, not a chance that it ever happens.
No.
I mean, you could think it happens, but this quickly, that's just Otts has done such a fantastic job here. But, Iowa State, they're taking a seat at the big boy table right now. And, they have their opportunity. They got to go out and seize it. And I'm not saying you have to win a national championship, but, you can't go in lacking any day.
Yeah, I agree. This is the year to do it for sure. And quick note on that, too. Usually at this point in the year, once February hits, the metrics don't change too much anymore.
Yeah.
They're kind of set in stone.
You'll
they
fluctuate
move around so much in November, December, early January. But, yeah, for the most part, whether you win or you lose, those top teams, they're staying pretty consistent for the most part over the course of the rest of the season. West Virginia getting beat by Houston right now. 2 straight bad losses since beating Iowa State. Fell at the hands of Arizona State at home and then got really just manhandled by Kansas State this past week.
Yeah. Sometimes you use up all of your strength and all your skill for that one game. You see it where you pull off a big win and then you turn around. Maybe it's like a hangover or something like that. Maybe there's an extended hangover right now. But, I mean, at the same time, would we expect them to go out and beat Houston?
Yeah.
You beat Iowa State, Houston. I'd put Houston a little bit above Iowa State now.
At this point, probably, yeah. They're playing more consistent ball at this point of the year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, undefeated in conference play, 3 losses total. Their only losses, Caleb, are at neutral sites. 11-0 at home, 4-0 away.
And who they lose to again?
I don't know. I'll pull it up.
Okay.
Auburn, SDSU. I would say they have 3 losses. And Alabama.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Good point on West Virginia. Again,
so 2 top 5 teams in SDSU.
Yeah. Back to the conversation we had earlier about Iowa State, you get everybody's best shot. That's kind of the inverse then for West Virginia is like you give Iowa State your best shot, 1 game, and then you go in a little 2-game losing skid because, that was the one you had circled. Everything led up to that. All the preparation was for that. Like you said, hangover's a good word. Happens to teams all the time. I still think West Virginia's good. And Tucker DeVries, is he back yet?
I'll tell you. I think they left the outside audio on as well.
It's technical issues abound tonight, guys. We're very sorry about that. I don't even think the audio is very good for our mics either right now.
I think mine's fine, but it just does not like it.
No.
Hansberry's back.
I want to say Casey,
Small
we had
back.
like the intern tonight doing it for us.
I think we did.
But we appreciate her nonetheless.
We appreciate her help. No.
Yep.
Not her fault. She's learned it. We learned too. We are in her spot.
Yep. Not like we have too much more technical knowledge when it comes to the stuff that she does.
We actually might have less.
We come with the dumb takes.
Yeah, we come with a big brain and a big ego, and only one of them will win on a given day.
Oh, that's wise.
Thank you.
Really wise.
Thank you.
Casey 2025.
That's
big brain,
that's
big
the ego.
Only one of them will win.
No Tucker DeVries.
Okay. Yeah, once he comes back, I'm sure they take a step up, but...
Yeah, this game's over, 32-15.
Yikes.
3 minutes left in the first.
The other thing I had before we move on here, making it a shorter pod today, we've got some hooping ourselves to do tonight, Casey.
We do.
Intramural season starts a week from tonight. Big time.
Put the world on notice.
Yeah.
It's my freshman year as a player.
Casey took he was redshirted last year, medical redshirt. This will be sophomore season for Caleb, but I think the team
we've got the experience going in.
Sure,
we've experienced. We may not be the Warriors.
We hit the portal a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Signed some pretty hefty NIL deals with some guys, but it's what you got to do in today's day and age, right?
Yeah.
Even at the intramural level, you still got to have characteristics of a program that guys are going to be attracted to, and so good culture we had established last year.
Great culture.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm getting tampered with left and right, but, I told him, I was like, happens. Hey, I bought into this culture. I redshirted for a reason. I went out there and I said, this is the team I want to be with. And, I'm not like LeBron going from Cleveland to Miami. I'm staying home and, staying with my boys. That's the important thing.
Casey's got a 99 overall loyalty rating on NBA 2K. That's good, though.
Probably my only 99 overall, but
yeah,
we'll find that out.
You know, I think we did a good job, too. I don't think we overpaid for anybody either. I mean,
Coleman Hawkins.
That was good management of our funding from the outside, unlike the Kansas State program with Jerome Tang.
And we don't have an Achor where anyone has left the program yet.
Right.
So I think right now Kansas State just needs to hire us.
No one like that one UNLV quarterback from this year is trying to leverage their NIL right now to transfer up. So
our beat writers aren't talking about kids' character because they won't commit to us either.
It's really just a steady program, Casey.
That's a good program.
We're not in the news at all, and that's a good thing.
It's a darn good basketball team, too.
Right there. Yep, excited to see what the future holds. We'll update you guys each and every week here. Anyway, point I was going to make.
Fun little segment.
I don't think the Big 12 is as much of a meat grinder this year as it has been in the previous years, especially when it was round-robin style. And I don't think anybody's really going to disagree with that, right?
Yeah.
Like, top-wise in this conference, you know, it's a lot more top-heavy than it used to be because you added teams like Houston and Arizona. But on the flip side, that's going to lead to teams like Colorado and Utah and Cincinnati being in this league. And so you're not just going to have that absolute, you know, grind it out each and every night in this league like it used to be when it was round-robin and you played everybody twice. You saw every away venue once. It's not what it used to be where this team is so much more, you know, centralized, or this league is a lot more centralized. You know, anybody can beat anybody on any night. That's not what it is anymore.
I mean, there's still signs of it there, though. You know,
sure.
You get teams competing left and right. Like, you know, you look at it, UCF's a middle of the pack team. They're right there with West Virginia. West Virginia beats Iowa State. UCF gives Kansas. And I mean, even Utah. You look at Utah. They just competed with somebody. They beat Cincinnati. They hung in there with Baylor, you know. I don't think it's as much of, you know, that bottom team. If you play that bottom team on the road, which in this case is Colorado, like, I don't think anymore we've got you know, that away game is just as difficult as a middle-of-the-pack home game, you know.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I think it's just the parity isn't as strong as it used to be, you know, because I feel like just a couple of years ago before the Big 12 expanded, it was like, you know, you saw the last place team beating, you know, a top 4, top 5 team pretty regularly.
Every year.
I mean, it would happen a lot. That just doesn't really happen anymore, you know, because you're just going to have bottom dwellers in a big conference. That's the way it works, right? In the NFL, you've got that all the time. Some team has to lose. Teams have to lose. Somebody has to be the one that unfortunately suffers the burden more than everybody else. So, yeah, that's my other take on the Big 12 this year.
But I mean,
still a fun league. Still a very fun league. Every game is, you know, it means something. Anybody can pick off anybody.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at Colorado's resume, and there's not a whole lot of bad losses. Obviously, you lose at Arizona State by 20. You know, they held Iowa State to a 10-point game, and it didn't feel like 10 points until that very end. West Virginia with a healthy Tucker DeVries to 8 points, you know. Cincinnati to 6 points. BYU, they got blown out a little, and then they turn around, and at Arizona, they kept it to a 10-point game until the last 2 minutes, and then it jumped to 17. They just lost to Arizona State by 2. Like, they're still competing in games, but now it's not the point where it's like they're going to win against a top 3 team. Like, it's more the middle tiers need to watch out, you know. It's more soccer kind of where those bottom teams are going to challenge the middle tier teams, but you know, they're not going to be there to compete with the Goliaths. But, you know, we say that, and they've still got Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Kansas, Texas Tech on their schedule, and they could go out and steal 1 or 2 of those games. And then we could, you know, turn around and be like, well, maybe this is the Big 12 of prior. It just took a little bit longer to show than usual. Yeah. We're still fairly early into – I don't even think we're halfway into the conference play.
Yeah, it's because you still have got games, you know, the first week of March as well. So we're getting close to halfway, but not quite there yet.
Yeah.
How about we 3 for 3 it quick? Introducing a quick new segment today as well. The T's and P's segment, thoughts and prayers. P's. So it's kind of the inverse of the 3 for 3, where we don't necessarily celebrate great things we've seen in sports, we give our thoughts and prayers to somebody in the sports world, something bad that happened the previous week. Kind of also more on the funny side, usually. Like, I don't think we're ever going to, like, put somebody's, death on there, something like that.
No.
Wouldn't be good. But, yes, that will happen after the 3 for 3. Shall we dive in?
Yeah.
Round it out?
Yeah, let's go right into it. A couple different sports for us today. Would expect nothing less. Starting it off, this probably could be a T's and P's, but I wanted to throw it in my 3 for 3. FIU soccer beats MLS side Sporting KC in a preseason scrimmage. Oh my goodness, how does that happen? Sporting KC.
Wow.
T's and P's, what are we doing? You got a season coming up soon. You just had a draft. You lost to Florida International. No hate to Florida International. I'm sure it's a great team. They're in Florida. I'm sure they get a lot of good recruits to come play for them. But, mid-tier college side going up against the best league in the U.S., what are we doing?
That's why I feel like we should see, Ohio State playing against, like, the Carolina Panthers or the Tennessee Titans. Like, it should happen, right?
Yeah.
When we see events like that makes me want to see, Jeremiah Smith, Cardinal Tate, what they could do against a really bad NFL team.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see Ohio State go beat up on Will Levis and give us another few photo templates while we're at it.
My number 3, we talked about it a little bit ago. Again, Casey, I'm sorry, I'm not stopping the bleeding here at all, but I had to throw the Houston, Kansas game on there because it was just like pure entertainment. And again, rooting interest aside, because as I said earlier, I was cheering for Kansas in that game for Iowa State Big 12 regular season championship implications, right? That's a big deal right now. I threw it on there, though, on the 3 for 3 because it was just like so improbable, so unbelievable. Yeah. I had to mention it.
Everything that could have went wrong and more went wrong. It was you give up a really good contested three-pointer to get the lead from 6-3, and then even before that, we get a 5-second violation as well. Give up the 3, they cut the lead from 6-3, and then they come out. Zeke Mayo forgets that Hunter Dickinson is 7'2", underthrows him, and they hit another 3 to tie the game. And from there, the game was over. It was just rather unfortunate too. And then, Flory Badunga goes out, picks up his 5th foul. He's kind of the guy that was on, like, keeping the game intact, and you lose him. And, Caleb, I'm going to be honest, it deserves to be up there. It was fantastic. I went back and watched it, and for every moment that, like, hurt me and stabbed me internally, I was like, that's just great job by Houston.
Sure. Yeah. It's just, that's, again, like you said, if you weren't here in January, February, don't bother showing up in March because you have stuff like this happening all the time. It's not just bound to March Madness.
Yeah, no. It's going to be in March Madness, and when we make our brackets, we're gonna have that in the back of our mind.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2 is the Colorado Avs mascot Bernie. They had this little segment at the Avalanche game where, like, there were little kids on the ice and they were skating. There was one kid who had, like, tripped and was laying down, and the Avalanche mascot, who for some reason is a dog, he's like a Saint Bernard, had hit a hockey stick with him, and he grabbed the kid's skate with a hockey stick and spun him around in a circle while he was laying on the ground.
That's pretty. That's
rather funny.
I need to find that.
I'll show you the video after.
That's entertainment right there.
Yeah,
good stuff. My number 2. This is technically from a couple weeks ago, but we also haven't podcasted in about 2 weeks at this point. So, it was Paul Allen and some of his calls in the Vikings-Rams wildcard game. And he's just, like, yelling at Sam Darnold to get rid of the football. Everyone, if you're a sports fan, if you're an NFL fan, you know who Paul Allen is, the iconic radio voice of the Minnesota Vikings, who notoriously is, like, actively cheering for his team as he's broadcasting games, like, just over the top. But this time around, he is yelling at his quarterback, Sam Darnold, from the radio booth to get rid of the football because he's hanging on to it for so long, getting sacked, throwing interceptions. Man, the Vikings just can't do it in the playoffs, even after what was a really great season, but I thought that was funny. Paul Allen is a national treasure.
He's amazing. Paul Allen is hilarious. My number 1, we're going back 2 weeks exactly. UMass versus Fordham.
This is my number 1 too.
Yeah. Awesome.
Free throws?
Yeah. Triple overtime, 120-118, UMass wins. NCAA record in fouls was 79. NCAA record in players fouled out with 9. 122 free throws attempted. And to go along with that, Fordham set school record in scoring in a loss. Unbelievable game.
Just like trigger-happy officials with their whistles all night long.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And the players did not change their play style. The refs were like, hey, we're going to call it tacky. And they said, okay, we're still going to go out there and slap them. We don't care. It was hilarious.
There was blood on the floor. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. The stuff you see in these, mid-major games, it's the same thing in like FCS football. Like a few weeks back, I had the Paxton DeLaurent SEMO. He threw for like 800 yards or something like that in a game. Or he threw like 70 passes, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
You just see crazy stuff in matchups like this, so I like it. Yep.
Without a doubt. T's and P's segment?
My number one as well. Yeah, T's and P's. You got it first.
My T's and P's goes to Austin Peay hockey, who loses to Vanderbilt 19-1 to open up their season.
Austin Peay, it only gets better from here, guys. Stay the course.
I don't know. They could get beat 19-0. For all we know, next week could get even worse.
Oh man, yeah. At least the offense produced something. My goodness.
Yeah,
that is disgusting. My not 3 for 3. My T's and P's is a little bit more simple than that, I suppose. But just the Bills and their fan base, and reliving this same nightmare for the 4th or 5th time now.
NFL fans in general right now.
That's true. We got an Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl. We should touch on it next week. Obviously, we will.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of thoughts on this game and just the NFL in general. But I think that's all for today.
Let's do it.
T's and P's, Austin Peay hockey, and Bills fans. Praying for you guys tonight especially.
Yep.
What a combination.
Keep you in our minds.
Yep. All right. Thank you all for tuning in to the Rundown with Caleb and Casey today. Sorry again for the technical issues. Had a few of those going. It'll be better next week. We will be better.
We'll crush it.
We will be back. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, The Rundown with Caleb and Casey, at _Rundown Pod on Twitter, and we'll catch you guys next week.